Cool. Are there any areas of research you think right now are just overlooked, where you think more people should be spending more time on this? Why aren't more people looking into this area?
So I think there's sort of two. One is not overlooked. I just think that it's overlooked compared to how great I think it could be. So the first is, as I mentioned, physical safety. So what does it look like for humans and robots to physically interact? The vast majority of prior research on this has come from the medical community, and so this looks things like robots that are helping to feed people that are paralyzed. And there's been a lot of really incredible medical work on these really impressive demonstrations where they're able to provide a huge amount of mobility and autonomy to people that otherwise cannot move their bodies in ways to do things on their own, but through a robot are able to do things, but the robot has to physically help them to get dressed or to help feed them. And so these are really, really cool applications for physical safety. But there hasn't been broader research into physical safety when it comes into the general public, when it comes into non-medical spaces. And so I think that's something that's very much overdue for some love from the research community. I'm very excited about, so I may be a little biased in that regard. I think then the second one, and we are starting to see a lot more interest here. It's becoming very important, but I still think we're fairly early on. Is how you embed imitation learning inside of a reinforcement learning framework, and to sort of get somewhat technical, but in reinforcement learning, we're primarily talking about learning in a simulator and through trial and error. So the robot makes a decision, it gets some reward signal or some punishment, and then based on taking hundreds and thousands of these decisions, it's able to learn how to interact in this environment. From basically first principles, we aren't specifying exactly what behavior we want, we're just telling it whether it did a good or bad job. This is very much contrasted with imitation learning, where you just show the robot exactly what you want it to do. So imitation learning tends to be a lot more efficient in how you train it because you give it an example of exactly what you want. It's a much easier task than if you just tell it good or bad, but no more information than that. And so, but with that flexibility and generality of the reinforcement learning framework, you also get a lot more robustness. And so that's how we see all of these humanoids and quadrupeds that are able to do parkour behaviors and climb up mountains and walk over ice without slipping. That's all coming from reinforcement learning, from this trial and error procedure, because it's very hard for us to otherwise show the robot how to behave.